On today's episode of Let's Talk, we want to explore the conversation on menstruation. And with us, we have four brilliant women, and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Abby. I am an autistic activist and Kenyan, and yeah, I'm happy to join the conversation.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Angeline Akai Lodi. I work with Access Network for the Blind, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Oyo Ann. I'm a physically challenged person. I run an organization called Clubfoot Society of Kenya, and I'm happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Waithera. I run Linda Afia. It's an online magazine for women's health and creating awareness.
And I am Faith Njahera, with disability, where we are working to create visibility for women and girls with disabilities, and Let's Talk as part of that. So when we're talking about menstruation, I guess even just to start off, it's acknowledging that it's there are women and female identified persons who do not menstruate, and there are people who do not identify as female or women who actually do menstruate. So long as someone has a uterus, then they have different experiences with menstruation. And to start off, this can be a conversation. So what individually can we think of as the first point that you got any information about your sexuality, your body, or any bodily changes that are happening in you? Anyone can. Yeah.
For us, we had in class 5, we had an afternoon session with our female teachers, and they taught us just menstruation, but the basic. It's supposed to come 3 to 4 days.
Basics.
Yeah, just the basics. Yeah. Yes, use a pad 3 to 4 days, once a month. Just that. Yeah, there wasn't anything else can happen. Yeah.
Interesting. For me, I hope I haven't cut you short.
No, it's okay.
For me, as a visually impaired child, growing as a visually impaired child, in class 5, 6, we used to have people to teach, because I was in an integrated sector. So I used to be in an inclusive sector first in primary, then went to a special school later, class 6 to 8. So in class 5, 6 there, when we used to get people to talk on menstruation, and they would show how to use, let's say, pads. And remember, someone like me, a child like me who was visually impaired, could not be able to see or see what they're doing or how they're doing it. So I felt left out. Then a story of another time, maybe if we reach there. Now it happened that when I got my menstruation, my first menstruation cycle, it was a bit hectic for me, because number one, I was not able to see what they were demonstrating. So probably we'll get to that later. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, myself, I learnt about menstruation on telly, I guess.
Oh.
Stay Free Team, the days when Stay Free was the part.
Yeah.
So then after, the ad used to come like oftenly. Then I got to ask my mom, what's this that they keep advertising? Stay Free, what's it? Why don't I have one Stay Free? Yeah. So she took me through the entire process, taught me how to wear a pad, told me when the periods come, at the age, and what I should experience and feel. Yeah, and Stay Free was just the pad.
I remember those.
Interesting. No, it's yeah. I'm a bit taken aback that you actually had this conversation with your mom, your parents. Well, I don't know. Wow. Yeah. I haven't had too many such stories. Yeah.
No, I don't even remember actually. It's been a while. But yeah, I think from a book or from TV or you read about and okay.
I also have memories of, I was in a mixed day school. So, some random day, all the boys will put in a separate room, or the girls will put in a separate room. And there were people with, pads and panties. And I think we were probably in class 5 or 6, same thing as we're all saying. Around, and that, that's around 10, 11, 10, 11, 12, thereabouts. And, then it was so technical.
Yes.
It was so technical that even as we were presenting, I don't think I really got why it is that they were even telling us. I was like, oh, okay, it's another of those things. And you've been in primary school long enough to know, but at this point of the year, the class 5 or 6, girls are taken aside and the boys are taken aside. So it's this almost like a ritual thing. Yeah, but even even going to what Akai was saying, maybe even we can go that way. Like my first experience, getting my period, I was at our grandparents' home. It was probably over the holidays, and I remember all the kids were at home, and I went to the toilet. I found blood on my panties. Then I went to my sister's, like, I've gotten my period. And because we'd had this thing in school, so I was like, then, I was given a pad. I was given a pad, and that's all I remember. Like, I remember being handed a pad, and that's it. After that, that's the complete story of my first period experience. Nothing about, how you're putting it on. I guess the assumption was, we had already been told in school, but that is,
But for me, maybe it's because I was younger than most of the people in my class. When I first got my first period, actually it was a cramp. Like, it was really bad cramp. Like, I was like, what? This is not normal. So I went to the toilet and then there was blood. So I called one of my friends. They actually came, 2 of them. They already had their periods because they were older than me. So they showed me everything. Like, I don't know, for some weird reason they had an extra panty. I don't know why. But because I was in class 8, like, why do you have an extra? Anyway, they showed me everything. They were like, this is how you put it. I was like, okay. But that pain was bad because they didn't have that kind of pain. But that pain was really bad. I was like, this is not what we were taught. This is not
you're not taught about
we're not taught about pain or cramps or anything. We're just taught it was just a little discomfort, but that pain was really bad. Yeah.
Hey, back to my story now. Hey, the first time I was going to church with my mom and my younger sister. So my mom used to love choir. So she used to sing in a choir, and she used to love. I used to be, most of the time I used to go with her. So we would go, me and my younger sister, plus my mother. After some time, then now they were done now singing and all, so I was to stand up, and now we would go back home. When I stood up, my sister told me, oh my God, it's like you sat on red paint. You sat on red paint, and I was like, what's wrong? What's happening? So my mom immediately came and told me, now you see, handed me her lesson. Now when we would walk back home, she'd tell me, now you're a grown-up woman now, you have to be careful with men. So I was like, now what have I done? What have I done? Is this what people say? Talk of menstruation or what? Then she'd go buy me the pads, and she didn't teach me on how to use it first. In fact, I remember I was taught by a friend who was older than I during that time. So my mom just would help me put it on, and that was it. So it was an embarrassing moment, but because I was small, it was not embarrassing for me. And thank God I was not able to see. so I was not embarrassed. I don't see people look at me. Yeah, that was my first experience, my first encounter with my periods, rather.
And to bring up maybe even an interesting thing, maybe to tie back to, like women's bodies and sexuality, how like you have to be careful with men now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're now fertile,
Yeah.
you can now bear children, you can now get pregnant,
Yeah.
then that's a then that's a point at which our sex talk happens because you've had your period.
Yeah.
But they don't tell us that you fertile, you can have children. They only just tell you have to be careful
Careful.
with
Yeah.
men.
You have to be careful with men.
So,
So you don't
that
know.
other bit is left out. So you don't know what exactly they mean. Like me, I had my period late, way late, like in Form 2. And I was like, everybody used to say I'm not normal. Like, among those of us who joined high school, everybody had their period.
Yeah.
So me, I was just like the only person who would go back home with pads. And it was like weird in Form 2. And I didn't even know, like, I had even forgotten about that supposed to be having like menstruation. I had actually given out the pads because for me it had never happened. Yeah. So I was just assuming now this term I don't need to go back with these pads. Let me give them out. So then one morning after mass, when we were doing cleaning, and I feel like something just went down my panty. I'm like, oh. I rushed to the toilet and there it was. So now you have to borrow pads. And everybody was excited that actually Anne got periods. And it was like the conversation for the day in class. And it was like a heroic moment. And I was like, this is how someone is supposed to feel when they have their period or what?
Do you have any memories?
I wish I'm trying to remember, but I don't really.
Yeah.
I just remember just talking with friends and then books and then, your periods and you're going to bleed. But really, I don't remember too much. I guess it's been way back when.
And even going to what Akai, what you were talking about, like the reaction, your sister's reaction of, you must have, you looks like you sat on blood, and even talking about, how you're glad you couldn't see people's faces, staring at you, and like growing up, we had this word mashiro. And like mashiro translates to like something dirty, soiled. And that I guess that's how I was referring to periods. All my primary school and high school life, and possibly even later. And it has that connotation of dirt.
Yes,
so like
and shame.
So like, can we talk a bit more about that?
And back then,
and
we didn't have pads with wings, so you were always paranoid. Like, am I soiling myself? Will I embarrass me? It was always you feel so like you're just going to embarrass yourself, like,
because even back then we didn't talk about it.
Yes.
Now we can talk about it. And it's still taboo, but back then it was more taboo to talk about it.
Yes.
So now we can,
Yeah, that was the moment that the girl child was feeling you have to be very much, you have to hide yourself from the public, the society, the community for all those like 3 or 4 days until you're done with your periods, then you can move on. Because that time, it was the worst moment of the children's or the girl child life. It was like a taboo. You would not even move or interact with other people when you are in your periods.
Yeah, and it felt weird because for me, my first period came for 8 days. And we were taught it's supposed to come for 3 days. So you don't know if you're okay. Maybe this is not periods. Maybe this is not okay, there's something wrong with me. And then it was heavy. It was really heavy. I'm trying to remember. This is not what we were taught. We were taught how many teaspoons are supposed to. And you're like, something has to be wrong. This is beyond now. This is bleeding. Past the period, there's
Past
more.
the
This
period.
it's actually bleeding, and we really didn't have anyone to talk to.
And do you think, like, because Anne, you mentioned that, you had this conversation with your mom.
Yeah.
So did you experience, this connotation of shame and embarrassment around periods, like we did? Because sometimes I assume that, if I had someone close to me, like a relative or a female whom I could talk to about these things, maybe there'd be less shame around it. Could you maybe tell us a bit about your experience?
Basically, for me, there wasn't much shame because one, I was always in a girls' school all through. So it was just something like it's normal. Like I said earlier, for me now, since I had missed my period, I was now like the hero of the class. Yeah. So now we could have these discussions. Yeah. Who hasn't gotten their period? Me, I'm cramping. When someone is sick, you would know it's either their period or... And the conversation was always there in school, in the specific schools I went to. And there wasn't much shame associated with it. We could really help. If someone messed up, you don't scare them off. There are those Form 1s who come in, they're really tiny. So when they receive their period, they're way up all over. They don't know what to do, they're crying. For me, it was a little bit different. The shame maybe would only come in just because you soiled your skirt, and maybe there was a male teacher in class at that point in time. But the conversation in school was way beyond shame. It was just you've got your period, yeah, now you're a hero. Yeah, it could be something we would celebrate actually in class. So there was a checklist of all those people who had not received their period, and me, I was among the last one. So when I passed the border, and now it was
Passage.
it was rite of passage. Yeah.
What do we feel about periods now? Because we talk about back then, a lot of our conversations I've had, back then we didn't have this, back then we did this. But how have our, I'd say, adult experiences been, and how has that been? And I'm curious how there has been our adult experiences, past 18 into the 20s going on.
I think now that we're able to talk about it more, and that's different, different alternative products to use. Like now, I use a cup, a Diva cup, which I swear by. I think it's the best thing ever. But yeah, there's more products, and people are more open to talking about it, and we're not as ashamed as we maybe once were.
Did you come by that on your own? Did you have to go through a number of products before you settled on the Diva cup? Or?
So I can't remember how I first heard about it, but I've always been conscientious of the environmental and the health factors of tampons and pads, because it adds up. Not just cost, but in terms of how much we throw out, and then they go to the landfill and they sit, and so I was always being conscientious of that, and then I found the cup. Well, I read about the cup, and then I somehow managed to get it. I mean, yeah, and it's painful the first time you try it, so that's why people don't tend to use it, because the initial start is very painful to put it in. But yeah, I just kept on at it. And
I've had maids, or had or read maids where people are like, oh, and again, people are like, oh, the cup will take away your virginity, but again, virginity is a hoax itself.
but then everyone thought tampons would do that too. Remember?
Yeah.
Also tampons, we weren't taught how to use them.
Yes.
Because the first time I remember I tried, I think I was in Form 1, I tried, someone gave me a tampon. and I inserted it, and I was so uncomfortable. I was like, what is this? Because you can't insert it too high because you really don't know.
Yeah.
You really don't know.
And
So
you're
it was-
worried about it getting
you
lost.
worried, yes.
Whatever.
You've been told that string can actually come off.
Can go ahead.
So you're uncomfortable the whole afternoon. You're like, no, this is not for me. This is not. Because we weren't taught how to do these things, or how high you're supposed to put it, or what you're supposed to. Wow.
Okay.
That's very interesting because right now, okay, I'm aware of the tampons, but now the cup that you're talking about, I've not interacted with it, or I've not seen it myself. So that brings us to the question: how accessible these things are, or
We need
how
to
the
get-
information, how this new the products, how are they like the myself, I'm visually impaired, so before you even know something, there's this new product in town that might take you ages to get to that to get that information. I can say for a fact that I've never interacted with the cups that you're talking about. I've seen the tampons and this they freeze and all, but again, you might for me, I might go to a supermarket and I want to pick a product that I want to use. How am I going to use it? Because right now I'm talking of the independence, the independence that a visually impaired person can walk into a supermarket or a shopping mall and pick a product that she or he, she, not he, she wants to pick. These products are not in accessible formats. They are not, for example, not in braille. So you might go pick the wrong thing. And even the information that you're talking about of the health precautions, this product has some health issues and the other one is better than the other. How freely or how can I, as a visually impaired woman, get to the product that is best for me freely without seeking for any assistance as independent? Because right now we talk of independence, self-independence. You can move and pick something that is better for you. So this is the information that the visually impaired woman lacks. This is what we lack as women with visual impairment, and I think something needs to be done, or we need to talk or ventilate over the same in future, or even involve the people who maybe how can I put it, who create or who come up with the products that are going to be used by these people.
And even if we say that there are a variety of products, even the accessibility to that particular product is not there.
Not there.
And then the cost factor. Not everybody can afford. Because for the longest time, I knew Stay Free. Then when Stay Free got lost, I used Always. And with Always, there was always an infection. And you're always at the doctor's itching and burning. So you think it is the panty that is smaller, you keep buying a larger panty. And then you're like, okay, what next? Then you're told you can't use cotton wool, but then you don't have another option.
You don't have
So you just stick with this pad, and it's actually bringing too many other complications.
And you actually think this is now normal.
Yes,
like
and you
every
think it's
month
normal.
you have
Every
your
month
periods.
You have your periods. You have to be sleeping, itching, and you have to like
it's an uncomfortable period.
Yeah,
That's supposed to be normal.
Like for me, the bowel toilet issue now becomes a whole issue.
Yes.
There is jig.
No one talks about that though.
All those things I have to, like, before I sit in the toilet, I have to clean the toilet seat, I have to clean the toilet, then I have to sit. Because I'm thinking that I'm picking the infection from the toilet. But basically I'm not picking it from the toilet because I'm tired of having an antibiotic, something to insert after the period. It gets so uncomfortable. So like for a whole year, 12 months, I'm swallowing an antibiotic for something I can control.
And even the cost, because like with there's not the talk of like using cotton based pads, but then when you look at the regular pads, it's 50 shillings for an 8-pack, and then those ones that probably have plastic in their lining, then the ones without plastic is 150 shillings, which is 3 times the cost. And so even as you're thinking of
What
Pre-
next?
Yeah, and it becomes as if like for you to be a healthy person, for you to not go through the discomfort, for you to not see the doctor, then you have to have this amount of money. You have to be
Yes.
earning. It
Yeah.
almost becomes elitist.
Yes.
Like you,
It's a luxury
It's a
now. It's a
luxury
luxury
now.
item now.
If you're using a certain type of pad, you belong to a certain class.
That's why
Yeah.
I think I wish more people knew about the cups. You can
The cups, I think, is the least talked about thing
Yeah.
ever when it comes to menstruation.
because it's also
So I'm not the only one who knows
insertion.
it.
No,
Who
actually,
doesn't
very
know?
few
No,
people.
no. A lot of people
The
don't
only
know
time
about it.
you'll hear about cups generally is on social media, maybe an advertisement or someone talking about it, but it's not something, a conversation that people
Yeah.
have. People don't talk about their
So-
experience.
Yeah.
How about
And
its
then-
cost? Like,
Yes.
it's
How about the cost?
costly.
The cost
Because you're talking over someone, let's say a person, a woman living with disability, a woman with disability
yeah.
who lives down there in the rural areas who cannot even afford this, the
Yeah.
50 shillings one.
That's
How
Yes.
is it?
No, that's
How is it for?
I don't know how much they are here,
they're
but
around.
apparently there's a Facebook group who deals in these cups.
They're around 1,000 to 1,500,
not too
How many
depending.
pieces?
How many pieces?
I think it's one.
But it's one.
It's one.
And
What?
I've used
But you only
mine.
need one,
I've
right?
used
For the
mine
3
for
days?
7 years. My single one,
Yeah.
I've used it for 7 years. The single
You only
one.
need
So
one.
it's
Silicone, you
washable.
wash it
Yes.
out
Oh, okay.
after every
Yeah,
cycle.
the market.
You wash it out.
It's washable now. That's the other part that we don't talk
Ah, look
about.
at that. It's just like how I've been trying to get people to study the washable pads.
Like me.
Yeah, like I've been trying to tell you, like
It's washable now. It gets a bit
Yeah,
murky.
you can use it forever.
Guys.
yeah, and even like the washable pads,
Yeah.
it's I guess like I personally had to work through the perception that blood is nasty
Yeah.
and it's I should not even be touching my menstrual
Yeah.
blood.
I mean,
But
you-
then even the washing list, because it's
You're
like
still
a pack of 4 washable pads is around 500 shillings, and you can use it for 2 years. You can use that pack for 2 years.
Okay, but
See?
the murky
But the washing.
part, you guys are not telling us the murky
Oh no,
part.
you just you
Yeah.
take it out, then
And
you
then-
soak it in water. You soak it
Clear
in water.
With-
Yeah, you soak it in clear water for 15 minutes. Then you pour out the water.
Uh-huh.
Then you just wash like a regular panty.
Put the jig and everything.
No, actually, no, don't put jig. Don't put jig. Like the best is use like bar soap because you also don't want chemicals.
Yes, yeah,
Because you don't want chemicals. You want then you also sun dry it. And the funniest experience has also been for me. Like people are now maybe okay with hanging their panties out.
Yeah.
But now people are getting weirded out when they find
Now they find pads.
pads being hanged outside. I'm like, they need to dry out.
Yeah.
So that's also something else. And for me, it's also like the whole I don't want to think about how am I disposing
Yeah.
my monthly pads.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to deal with
And-
having to dispose
And of course, like here, our waste management is
Yes.
not
yeah.
well,
We don't even have
We don't have our waste management.
So all those pads go into and then they're exposed to people, to animals, whatever, and that makes it's a health and environmental factor. Yeah.
How do you wash the cup?
The cup, so you have to get very.
Look at your face.
So
How do you wash the cup?
it's just just with hot water.
Hot
soaked with-
water?
Yeah.
No vinegar, no nothing?
No. It's just
Okay,
empty.
that's a bit
But you
murky.
do have to
I'm getting there.
You
Get-
pour out. You just pour out the blood, then you
Yes,
just
please.
wash
We are
it.
getting there.
very
We're
comfortable.
getting there.
You have to get comfortable with your own blood.
Yeah, you have to get comfortable.
You have to get comfortable. It will take a while.
It'll take a while, yes.
And I think that's where the icky thing comes in. But you,
Yeah, because even the
But-
way it's inserted,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
also another murky process.
You know how
What's murky
for,
about it?
for
I
the
would
cup.
rather a shampoo than the cup.
No, my question for
Going
the
into
cup.
the same
Yeah, like
place.
going
My
in-
question
but
for the cup would be
it's inserted
when you're in a
differently.
public
Place.
setting, and let's say the toilets are there, but there's no water, and you need
well,
to.
that's the thing. You can
change,
leave you can leave a cup in for up to 12 hours.
Some of us have really heavy periods.
I have heavy periods. So, you know, you can leave it in. It's not like a tampon or pad where it could cause infections and all. I recommend it 100%. But it is. You do have to get comfortable.
We should
try that one.
that goes down. And
So even like, you know, when you're talking about the...
I have all those imaginations, like the blood might just go back to where it came from. All overflow. Have you thought of that?
Like if it overflows, I guess, you know, it's this whole thinking around, oh, you've sold yourself. So, you know, if it overflows,
styling
fine.
is overflowing, but then
But how will you know it's
how will you know that
for
everything
12
came out?
hours.
How do you know that everything came out? Now that's the
But
part
naturally it will come out.
Your periods continue coming out as
it
they
will
do.
come out.
Because it's not at the fallopian tubes, like stopping the blood from
I
coming.
mean, it's just like cup thing.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh dear, you'll get there.
And I think partly it's been interesting whenever, and like even as you're talking about like the inserting of it. So I feel as if as women we have been trained not to be okay and comfortable with our bodies. So even the thought of inserting something in our own vaginas and even learning or even knowing that, you know, this is the structure of the vagina, this is the urethra, this is the vagina, and this is where it goes in, like that is still so far away, because even as we talk about periods, even in those schools, no one was like, oh, this is the structure of, you know.
Yeah, it's the one you learned in biology.
Yeah.
The one you just learned
It's
in
only in
biology.
biology and warned you if you had a male teacher or a shy female teacher who did not explain, oh, the urethra is not the... And I was
Whether
like,
you're just taught uterus, fallopian tube, ovaries. Moving on.
And I was reading Gabrielle Union's book, We're Gonna Need More Wine. And she, you know, explains about like the first time trying to insert tampon and realizing that she was trying to insert her tampon into her urethra.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we're taught not to be comfortable with our own bodies to the point of knowing, why this is the urethra, this is the pee comes out of here, the babies and the periods come out from this other part. So it's, I guess, something that we need to, you know, get more comfortable
It goes
with.
back to when we were kids and having period is seen as to be shameful or dirty or keep it
Yes,
quiet.
keep it quiet,
We
by
don't
the
look
way.
at it.
So
How
you end
do
up
we
having
not-
weird experiences alone.
Yeah.
So you're like, maybe there's something wrong with
Oh, there's
me.
something wrong. Maybe I'm
I always
maybe
get
it's not
an
right.
overflow.
So
I'm always spotting.
Yeah.
balls.
But how many times do you sit with your girlfriends and just have a conversation on menstruation?
Now
Let's
I
be
do.
honest.
Now I do.
How many oftentimes? Now this is the thing. It's oftentimes.
Oftentimes.
Yeah, like
If
you
I have a
actually
problem-
know where the menstruation is coming from. You know the way I'm like opening my eyes wide about the cup.
Yeah.
Like, how many times do we sit down and draw that diagram and teach one another? And this is what
have to be
happens.
doing that more.
How many times?
I think with the time.
Very few times.
Yeah.
Zero.
But with zero.
I guess
maybe
only if you find friends
who you're comfortable to talk with.
but then
You have
it
to
needs
build.
to be a conversation.
Yes,
We are women.
it is a
And
conversation.
even more, I think not only with our fellow girlfriends or even women friends, this should go beyond that, should go also to the male.
Yes.
I mean, how many, there's a time in high school, I told my dad to buy me pads, and he brought it. How many times do we even tell our boyfriend to go bring me these pads? Because to stop that thing, to stop the period and the shame that is associated with having or with menstruation, we need also to involve our male counterparts.
Yeah.
They need to know.
I think I was having
They
this
need to know.
conversation with someone that when you're teaching the girls about menstruation, the boys also need to know about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because these are women you're interacting with, they'll forever be interacting with them.
Yeah.
Their colleagues, their wives, their sisters, their mothers. So they also need to be aware of what's happening. Yeah.
For me, it's gotten to a point where, like, I'm very, because oftentimes I cannot, I have to have someone with me when I'm doing my shopping. And again, I cannot reach a shelf that is above, like, my waist level. And almost always, the pads are, you know, like, all over the place.
wow.
So I've gotten to a point where I'm comfortable being like, can you reach for me this pad? Or if are you coming to visit? Can you pass by this place and pick for me yada yada yada, like pick for me these pads or this and this. But it's also, taking a bit of time and realizing, even sometimes when going shopping, someone wants to, when you start going down the aisle with the pads, someone wants to keep themselves busy. Yes, someone wants to go on the other side and be like, hey, can we meet down the aisle? Like, no, let's go down so that next time if I am not able to come to the shop, or my period starts when I'm at home and I don't have pads, then I can send you to, bring me those pads. But then, it's something that even building up with time, and even like with friends, it's realizing that that it takes time, because there has been a lot of shame over time. But being like, if it's female, but